The Lebanese Forces is a Lebanese political party and formerly Christian militia during the Lebanese Civil War. It currently holds 8 of the 64 Christian seats in Lebanon's parliament and is therefore the second largest Christian party in parliament. The Lebanese Forces were originally created in 1976 as an umbrella organization coordinating all the right-wing party militias of the Lebanese Front, mainly composed of the Kataeb Party. After the assassination of Bachir Gemayel, a few uprisings led to Geagea taking over and dissolving the Lebanese Front, later developing into a separate organization from those parties in the early 1990s. The party was led by Samir Geagea, former commander-in-chief of the armed organization. The organization was created by the Gemayels, Kamil Shamoun, and other party leaders during the Lebanese Civil War. It was initially a conglomerate of the various right-wing party militias, placed under the control of a council composed of various party representatives. The Kataeb regulatory forces provided the largest share of fighters and the Kataeb had the largest share on the council. Despite its original creation from party militias, the Lebanese forces accepted new recruits without any specific party allegiance. The movement fought as the main Lebanese resistance within the Christian-dominated Lebanese Front. During the Civil War, the LF fought different opponents at different times: the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the LNM, the LNRF, the Syrian Army, the Druze-dominated PSP and the CUF, and the Lebanese army loyal to General Aoun. In the mid-1980s, political friction within the Lebanese Front resulted in growing distance between the Kataeb militants and the rest of the Lebanese forces. In the end, the Lebanese forces and Kataeb became two separate forces within the Lebanese Front. After the Civil War ended, Samir Geagea created the Lebanese Forces Party. In 1994, while Lebanon was under Syrian occupation, the party was banned, Geagea imprisoned, and the activities of its militants repressed by the Lebanese services in Lebanon. The Lebanese Forces returned as a political force after the Cedar Revolution in early 2005, which resulted in a withdrawal of Syrian troops from Lebanon. Soon after, Geagea was subsequently released from prison and continues to lead the party today. History Lebanese Forces Formation. The Lebanese Front was informally organized in January 1976 under the leadership of Bashir's father, Bachir Gemayel and Kamil Shamoun. It began as a simple coordination or joint command between the predominantly Christian Kataeb Party Kataeb Regulatory Forces, TIA's team of commandos, Ara Tigers Militia, Al-Tanzim, Marada Brigade and Lebanese Renewal Party Guardians of the Cedars parties and their respective military wings. The main reason behind the formation of the Lebanese Front was to strengthen the Christian side against the challenge presented by the Lebanese National Movement, an umbrella alliance of leftist Muslim parties militias backed by the Palestine Liberation Organization and rejectionist Front Palestinian guerrilla factions. Christian East Beirut was ringed by heavily fortified Palestinian camps from which kidnappings and sniping against Lebanese civilians became a daily routine. Christian East Beirut became besieged by the PLO camps, with severe shortages of food and fuel. This unbearable situation was remedied by the Kataeb regulatory forces and their allied Christian militias as they besieged the Palestinian camps embedded in Christian East Beirut one at a time and brought them down. The first was on January 18, 1976 when the heavily fortified Krantina camp, located near the strategic Beirut harbor, was invaded. About 1,000 PLO fighters and civilians were killed. The Palestinian PLO and al-Sayq forces retaliated by attacking the isolated defenseless Christian town of Daima about 20 miles south of Beirut on the coast, during the Daima massacre in which 1,000 Christian civilians were killed and 5,000 were sent fleeing north by boat, since all roads were blocked off. The Maronites retaliated with the invasion of the largest and strongest Palestinian refugee camp, Tel al-Zawtar that same year. Bachir, with his KRF militia units, also fought against the PLO and LNM militias at the Battle of the Hotels in central Beirut. The most important battle won by the Falang for the control of the hotel district was the fighting over the possession of the Holiday Inn, due to its important strategic location. Before that battle, the Holiday Inn had been occupied by the PLO. The Lebanese Forces was soon after established with an agreement that the direct military commander would be a Kataeb member and a vice commander an RM member. Bachir led his troops in the infamous 100 Days War in Lebanon in 1978, in which the Lebanese forces successfully resisted the Syrian shelling and attacking of eastern Beirut for about 3 months before an Arab-brokered agreement forced the Syrians to end the siege. Syrians took high buildings such as Burj Rafia and Burj El Noor using snipers and heavy weapons against civilians. The soldiers stayed for 90 days. Another major clash took place near the Sodeko area in Rafia where the Lebanese forces fought ferociously and led the Syrian army out of the Rizq building. At this time, Israel was the primary backer of the Lebanese Front unregistered trademark S militia. In July 1980, following months of intra-Christian clashes between the Tigers, the militia of Dani, and the Phalangists, who by now were under the complete leadership of Bachir Gemayel, the Phalangists launched an operation in an attempt to stop the clashes within the Christian areas, and to unite all the Christian militias under Gemayel's command. This operation resulted in a massacre of tens of Tigers members at the Marine Beach Resort in Safra, 25 kilometers north of Beirut. Kamil Shamoun's silence was interpreted as acceptance of Gemayel's controls, because he felt that the Tigers led by his son were getting out of his control. In 1981 Atzlah copyright in the Bekaa, the largest Christian town in the east, confronted one of the biggest battles both military and political between the Lebanese forces and the Syrian occupying forces. The Lebanese forces was able to confront them even though there was a big mismatch in military capabilities and was able to reverse the result of the Battle of 1981. This victory was due to the bravery of the inhabitants and 92 Lebanese forces soldiers sent from Beirut. The Syrian occupying forces used all kind of weapons against a peaceful town, and they cut all kind of backup that may come from the mountain. Regardless of the very bad weather and heavy bombing, convoys were sent in the snow to Zal. 2 Lebanese forces soldiers died on a hill due to bad weather. They were found later holding each other till they died. The Battle of Zal gave the Lebanese cause a new perspective in the international communities, and the victory was both military and diplomatic. It made the leadership of President Bachir Gemayel much stronger because of his leadership and important role in this battle. The battle started on April 2, 1981, and finished with a ceasefire and Lebanese police were sent to Zal. The 92 Lebanese forces heroes returned to Beirut on July 1, 1981. Under President Bachir Gemayel, Christian East Beirut was ringed by heavily fortified Palestinian camps from which kidnappings and sniping against Lebanese civilians became a daily routine. Christian East Beirut became besieged by the PLO camps, with severe shortages of food and fuel. This unbearable situation was remedied by the Kataeb regulatory forces and their allied Christian militias as they besieged the Palestinian camps embedded in Christian East Beirut one at a time and brought them down. The first was on January 18, 1976 when the heavily fortified Krintina camp, located near the strategic Beirut harbor, was invaded. About 1,000 PLO fighters and civilians were killed. The Palestinian PLO and al-Sayq forces retaliated by attacking the isolated defenseless Christian town of Dama about 20 miles south of Beirut on the coast, during the Dama massacre in which 1,000 Christian civilians were killed and 5,000 were sent fleeing north by boat, since all roads were blocked off. The Maronites retaliated with the invasion of the largest and strongest Palestinian refugee camp, Tel al-Zawtar that same year. Bachir, with his KRF militia units, also fought against the PLO and LNM militias at the Battle of the Hotels in central Beirut. The most important battle won by the Phalang for the control of the hotel district was the fighting over the possession of the Holiday Inn, due to its important strategic location. Before that battle, the Holiday Inn had been occupied by the PLO. Eventually the PLO ended up occupying the Holiday Inn once again, while the Kataeb forces retreated to the facing Hilton Hotel in what was known as the Hotel War. The Lebanese forces was soon after established with an agreement that the direct military commander would be a Kataeb member and a vice commander an RM member. Bachir led his troops in the infamous 100 Days War in Lebanon in 1978, in which the Lebanese forces successfully resisted the Syrian shelling and attacking of eastern Beirut for about 3 months before an Arab-brokered agreement forced the Syrians to end the siege. Syrians took high buildings such as Burj Rafieq and Burj El Noor using snipers and heavy weapons against civilians. The soldiers stayed for 90 days. Another major clash took place near the Sodeko area in Rafieq where the Lebanese forces fought ferociously and led the Syrian army out of the Rizq building. At this time, Israel was the primary backer of the Lebanese Front unregistered trademark S militia. In July 1980, following months of intra-Christian clashes between the Tigers, the militia of Dani, and the Phalangists, who by now were under the complete leadership of Bachir Gemayel, the Phalangists launched an operation in an attempt to stop the clashes within the Christian areas, and to unite all the Christian militias under Gemayel's command. This operation resulted in a massacre of tens of Tigers members at the Marine Beach Resort in Safra, 25 kilometers north of Beirut. Camille Chamoun's silence was interpreted as acceptance of Gemayel's controls. In 1981 at Salah copyright in the Bekaa, the largest Christian town in the east, confronted one of the biggest battles both military and political between the Lebanese forces and the Syrian occupying forces. The Lebanese forces was able to confront them even though there was a big mismatch in military capabilities and was able to reverse the result of the Battle of 1981. This victory was due to the bravery of the inhabitants and 92 Lebanese forces soldiers sent from Beirut. The Syrian occupying forces used all kind of weapons against a peaceful town, and they cut all kind of backup that may come from the mountain. Regardless of the very bad weather and heavy bombing, convoys were sent in the snow to Zal. 2 Lebanese forces soldiers died on a hill due to bad weather. They were found later holding each a thera till they died. The Battle of Zal gave the Lebanese cause a new perspective in the international communities, and the victory was both military and diplomatic. It made the leadership of President Bachir Gemayel much stronger because of his leadership and important role in this battle. The battle started on April 2, 1981, and finished with a ceasefire and Lebanese police were sent to Zal. The 92 Lebanese forces heroes returned to Beirut on July 1, 1981. Israeli invasion. In 1982, Bachir met with Hani al-Hassan and told him that Israel would enter and wipe them out. Bachir told him to leave Lebanon peacefully before it was too late. Hani left and no reply was given to Bachir. Israel invaded Lebanon, arguing that a military intervention was necessary to root out PLO guerrillas from the southern part of the country. Israeli forces eventually moved towards Beirut and laid siege to the city, aiming to reshape the Lebanese political landscape and force the PLO out of Lebanon. By 1982, Israel had been the main supplier to the Lebanese forces, giving them assistance in weapons, clothing, and training. An official Israeli inquiry into events in Beirut estimated that when fully mobilized the Falang had 5,000 fighters of whom 2,000 were full-time. After the PLO had been expelled from the country to Tunisia, in a negotiated agreement, Bachir Gemayel became the youngest man to ever be elected as president of Lebanon. He was elected by the parliament in August. Most Muslim members of parliament boycotted the vote. On September 3, 1982, during the meeting, Begin demanded that Bachir sign a peace treaty with Israel as soon as he took office in return of Israel's earlier support of Lebanese forces, and he also told Bachir that the IDF will stay in South Lebanon if the peace treaty was not directly signed. Bachir was furious at Begin and told him that the Lebanese forces did not fight for 7 years and that they did not sacrifice thousands of soldiers to free Lebanon from the Syrian army and the PLO so that Israel can take their place. The meeting ended in rage and both sides were not happy with each other. Begin was reportedly angry at Bachir for his public denial of Israel's support. Bachir refused the immediate peace, arguing that time is needed to reach consensus with Lebanese Muslims and the Arab nations. Bachir was quoted telling David Kimsh, the Director General of the Israeli Foreign Ministry, few days earlier, "Please tell your people to be patient. I am committed to make peace with Israel, and I shall do it. But I need time, 9 months, maximum 1 year. I need to mend my fences with the Arab countries, especially with Saudi Arabia, so that Lebanon can once again play its central role in the economy of the Middle East. In an attempt to fix the relations between Bachir and Begin, Ariel Sharon met secretly with Bachir in Baqir. In this meeting, they both agreed that, after 48 hours, the IDF will cooperate with the Lebanese army to force the Syrian army out of Lebanon. After that is done, the IDF would peacefully leave the Lebanese territory. Concerning the peace negotiation, Sharon agreed to give Bachir time to fix the internal conflicts before signing the negotiation. The next day, Begin's office issued a statement saying that the issues agreed upon between Bachir and Sharon were accepted. 9 days before he was to take office, on September 14, 1982, Bachir was killed along with 25 others in a bomb explosion in the Kataeb headquarters in Attribution. The attack was carried out by Habib Shartouni, a member of the Syrian Social Nationalist Party, believed by many to have acted on instructions of the Syrian government of President Hafez al-Assad. The next day, Israel moved to occupy the city, allowing Falangist members under Eli Habeika's command to enter the centrally located Sabra and the Shatila refugee camp. A massacre followed, in which Falangists killed between 762 to 3,500 civilians, mostly Palestinians and Lebanese Shiites, causing great international uproar. Many cite the massacre as revenge for the killing of Bachir Gemayel and the countless massacres committed by the PLO against the Christian civilian population since 1975. The Gemayel years, after the Israeli invasion, the IDF troops settled in the Chuf and Eli from party militias. The Lebanese forces returned to the villages which had been occupied by the PSP for 7 years. However, soon after, clashes broke out between the Lebanese forces and the Druze militias who had now taken over the districts. The main Druze militiamen came from the Progressive Socialist Party, led by Walid Jumblat, in alliance with the Syrian army and Palestinian militants. For months, the two fought what would later be known as the Mountain War, resulting in a large PSP victory. At the same time, the Lebanese forces troops also fought battles against the Palestinian and Druze militias and the Syrian troop east of the southern city of Sidon. The outcome was also a Progressive Socialist Party victory and a contiguous Druze Chuf district with access to Lebanese seaports. Later in 1984, the PSP won decisive battles against the Lebanese army in the Chahar region in the Eli district. The PSP then attacked further into Souk El Arb, a village held by the Lebanese Army's 8th Mechanized Infantry Brigade commanded by then-Colonel Michel Aoun. The attackers were fiercely pushed back as the American helped Aoun by bombing the PSP from their navy. Internal power struggles. After the death of Bachir, his brother Gemayel replaced him as president, and his cousin, Fodi Frem as commander of the Lebanese forces. The two had a frosty relationship, and in 1984, pressure from him led to Frem's replacement by Fouad Abu-Nader. On March 12, 1985, Samir Geagea, Eli Habeika and Karim Pakradowni rebelled against Abu-Nader's command, ostensibly to take the Lebanese forces back to its original path. The relationship between Geagea and Habeika soon broke down, however, and Habeika began secret negotiations with the Syrians. On December 28, 1985, he signed the Tripartite Accord, against the wishes of Geagea and most of the other leading Christian figures. Claiming that the Tripartite Accord gave Syria unlimited power in Lebanon, Geagea mobilized factions inside the Lebanese forces and on January 15, 1986, attacked Habeika's headquarters in Krantina. Habeika surrendered and fled, first to Paris and subsequently to Damascus, Syria. He then moved to Zala Copyright with tens of his fighters where he prepared for an attack against East Beirut. On September 27, 1986, Habeika's forces tried to take over the Akrafiyeh neighborhood of Beirut but the Lebanese forces of Geagea's command held them back. This failed attempt by Habeika was the last episode of internal struggles in East Beirut during Gemayel's mandate. As a result, the Lebanese forces led by Geagea were the only major force on ground. During 2 years of frail peace, Geagea launched a drive to re-equip and reorganize the Lebanese forces. He also instituted a social welfare program in areas controlled by Geagea's party. The Lebanese Forces also cut its relations with Israel and emphasized relations with the Arab states, mainly Iraq but also Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Egypt. The Elimination War. Two rival governments contended for recognition following Gemayel's departure from the presidency in September 1988, one a mainly Christian government and the other a government of Muslims and Lebanese leftists. The Lebanese forces initially supported the military Christian government led by General Michel Aoun, the commander of the Lebanese army. However, clashes erupted between the Lebanese forces and the Lebanese army under the control of Michel Aoun on February 14, 1989. These clashes were stopped, and after a meeting in Bachir copyright, the Lebanese forces handed the national ports which it controlled to Aoun's government under pressure from the Lebanese National Army. The Lebanese forces initially supported Aoun's liberation war against the Syrian army, but then agreed to the Taif Agreement, which was signed by the Lebanese deputies on October 24, 1989 in Saudi Arabia and demanded an immediate ceasefire. Aoun's main objection to the Taif Agreement was its vagueness as to Syrian withdrawal from the country. He rejected it, vowing that he would not sign over the country. Fierce fighting in East Beirut broke out between the Lebanese forces and the Lebanese army under Michel Aoun after the Lebanese army, under orders of Michel Aoun, began stopping and arresting members of the Lebanese forces. These events led to the Elimination War on January 31, 1990. The war continued until the defeat and exile of Aoun to France in August 1990. During the war, the Lebanese forces made major strides and victories, including the capture of many of the army's encampments, barracks, and units. Lebanese Forces Party =. The Second Republic, after Aoun surrendered on October 13, 1990 to the rival Syrian-backed President Geagea was offered ministerial posts in the new government. He refused several times, because he was opposed to Syrian interference in Lebanese affairs, and his relationship with the new government deteriorated. On March 23, 1994, the Lebanese government headed by Hariri ordered the dissolution of the LF. On April 21, 1994, Geagea was arrested on charges of setting a bomb in the church in Zouk, of instigating acts of violence, and of committing assassinations during the Lebanese Civil War. Although he was acquitted of the first charge, Geagea was subsequently arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment on several different counts, including the assassination of former Prime Minister Rashid Karami in 1987. He was incarcerated in solitary confinement, with his access to the outside world severely restricted. Amnesty International criticized the conduct of the trials and demanded Geagea's release, and Geaghea's supporters argued that the Syrian-controlled Lebanese government had used the alleged crimes as a pretext for jailing Geagea and banning an anti-Syrian party. Many members of the Lebanese forces were arrested and brutally tortured in the period of 1993–1994. At least one died in Syrian custody and many others were severely injured. In 1998, a group of ex-military persons in the LF was alleged to have conducted military operation against the Syrian military intelligence in Lebanon. The group was mainly formed of elites LF called SADEM. In June 19, 1998, a failed operation revealed the identity of some persons of this group, one of which was a Lebanese army captain, Kamil Yahed. Some other names published in the newspapers then were, 1 Nahum Zeid, 2 Georges Deeb, 3 Fodi Shahoud, 4 Naam Toula Musalam, 5 Abdo Soya. After the Cedar Revolution, the Loaf was an active participant in the Cedar Revolution of 2005, when popular protests and international pressure following the assassination of former Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri combined to force Syria out of Lebanon. In the subsequent parliamentary election held in May and June, the Lebanese forces formed part of the Rafik Hariri martyr list, which also included the Future Movement, Popular Socialist Party, the Reformed Falang Party, and other anti-Syrian political groups, as well as a brief tactical alliance with Amal and Hezbollah. The tactical alliance with Hezbollah and Amal would soon end. These majority parties and movements would subsequently form the anti-Syrian March 14 Alliance, which stood opposed to the March 8 coalition backed by Hezbollah, Amal and the Free Patriotic Movement led by General Michel Aoun, who had returned to Lebanon. the Lebanese forces were able to win 6 out of the 8 MPs that were nominated throughout the various regions of the country. Nevertheless, the elections proved to be very significant because for the first time, supporters of the party were freely able to participate in the election process. Following the party's new political gains, Samir Geagea was freed on July 18, 2005, after Parliament decided to amend all the charges he formerly faced. Since Geagea's release from prison, the Lebanese forces have been rebuilding much of their former image. Some of these works include reorganizing its members and their families, reopening political facilities, and re-establishing their main presence among the Christians of Lebanon. In addition to rebuilding their image, the Lebanese forces have also been attempting to reclaim former privately funded facilities, which were seized by the Syrian-backed government. Currently, the Lebanese forces have also been striving to reclaim their rights to the Lebanese Broadcasting Corporation, which was initiated by the party in the mid-1980s. After filing suit against LBC Group General Manager Pierre Dayer in 2007, the Lebanese forces won the case and were granted control of the corporation in late 2010. Since the emancipation of the party's main leader, Samir Geagea, the party has gained new popularity among the Christian population throughout all of Lebanon. In addition, the Lebanese forces have also been able to retain a great deal of popularity amongst the younger generation, as evidenced by the annual student elections in Lebanese colleges. The Lebanese forces, along with their other March 14 allies, made additional gains in the elections geared towards the professional bodies of engineers, doctors, lawyers, and even teachers. Present political representation, the Lebanese forces held 8 out of the 128 seats of the Lebanese parliament after the general elections of 2009, and were represented in the Sinura government, formed in July 2005, by the Minister of Tourism Joseph Sakis, and then in the second Sinura government, formed in July 2008, by the Minister of Justice Ibrahim Najjar and the Minister of Environment Antoine Karam. They are a Christian party within the March 14 bloc, an anti-Syrian movement. The Lebanese forces and its main political representatives strive to re-establish the many Christian rights, which were significantly lessened during Syria's occupation of Lebanon, specifically from 1990 to 2005. Some of the Lebanese forces' other main objectives include formulating a just electoral law, which would enable the Christian population to be represented fairly in local and parliamentary elections. The party has also stressed the idea of reaffirming the powers formerly endowed to the Lebanese president before being lessened in the TAIF agreement. Bachir Gemayel militia founder, Samir Geagea current leader and founder. Current deputies, Georges Adwan elected in 2005, re-elected in 2009. Eli Kairos elected in 2005, re-elected in 2009. Antoine Zora elected in 2005, re-elected in 2009. Fadi Karam elected in 2012. Sitda Geagea elected in 2005, re-elected in 2009. Tony Abikaita elected in 2009. Joseph Malfa elected in 2009. Chanchan Genian elected in 2009. Recently, in 2014 the party announced 26 candidates for parliamentary election all across Lebanon, but the election didn't take place. More than one candidate was announced in the following districts: 2 candidates in Shari, 2 candidates in Bar Abda, 2 candidates in Sul and 2 candidates in Jazin, 2 candidates in Zgata and 5 candidates in Beirut. The Loaf also announced candidates in Kaswan, Metn, Kora, Batram, Akka, Tripoli, Baalbek Kemal, Aili, Chouf, Tripoli, and West Bekaa. See also: Political parties in Lebanon, Samir Geagea, Al-Tanzim, Bachir Gemayel, Lebanese Civil War, Lebanese Forces Executive Command, Lebanese Front, Lebanese National Movement, Lebanese Youth Movement, Cedar Revolution, Kataeb Party, Kataeb Regulatory Forces, TIAS Team of Commandos, Eden Massacre, Sabra and Shatila Massacre, Guardians of the Cedars, Marada Brigade, Mountain War, Young Men. Secondary sources: Mustafa El-Assad, Blue Steel 2, M3 Half-Tracks in South Lebanon, Blue Steel Books, Sidon 2006. Mustafa al-Assad, Blue Steel 3, M113 carriers in South Lebanon, Blue Steel Books, Sidon 2007. Mustafa al-Assad, Blue Steel 4, M50 Shermans and M50 APCs in South Lebanon, Blue Steel Books, Sidon 2007. Mustafa al-Assad, Civil Wars Volume 1, The Gun Trucks, Blue Steel Books, Sidon 2008. ISBN 978-9953012,568, Samir Geagea, 30 Years of Military Vehicles in Lebanon, Beirut, Elite Group, 2003. ISBN 9953-0-0705-5, Samir Geagea, var copyright Hickules Militaires or Liban Military Vehicles in Lebanon 1975-1981, La Euro unregistered trademark Echo des Cedres, Beirut 2011. ISBN 978-1-934293-06-5, Samuel M. Katz and Ron Volstad, Battleground Lebanon, Concord Publications, Hong Kong 1990. ISBN 962-361-003-3, Stephen J. Zalaga, Tank Battles of the Mid-East Wars, The Wars of 1973 to the Present, Concord Publications, Hong Kong 1998. ISBN 962-361-613-9, Stephen J. Zalaga, ZSU-23-4 Shilka and Soviet Air Defense Gun Vehicles, Concord Publications, Hong Kong 1993. ISBN 962-361-039-4. Notes, Antoine Abraham, The Lebanon War, Greenwood Publishing Group 1996. ISBN 0275953890, 9780275953898. Klehoy and Viktor Ostrovsky, By Way of Deception, The Making and Unmaking of a Mossad Officer, St. Martina Euro unregistered trademark S-Press, New York, 1990. ISBN 0-9717595-0-2, Denise Amon, Histoire du Liban Contemporain, Tome 2, 1943, 1990, Fayard, Paris 2005. ISBN 978-2213615,219, Edgar R. Borlance, Civil War in Lebanon, 1975-92, Palgrave Macmillan, 1998. ISBN 978-0312215934, Fors Trabulsi, Ideen Titer Copyright Essay Solidarité Copyright S. Kreuzer Copywriters Dans les Conflits du Liban Contemporain. Chapitre 12, LA Copyright Économie Politique des Militias, L'Affaire Copyright Norman Nemafer, Thales de Doctorat d'Histoire Euro 1993, Université Copyright de Paris 8, 2007. Hazem Salih, Tor Euro unregistered trademark Rib al-Qatar Euro unregistered trademark Eb al-Lubnaniya, al-Hizb, al-Sulta, al-Khawf, Beirut, Dar al-Jadid, 1991, Jonathan Randall, Going All the Way, Christian Warlords, Israeli Adventurers in the War in Lebanon, Vintage Books, New York, 1984. Robert Fisk, Pity the Nation, Lebanon at War, London, Oxford University Press, ISBN 0192801309. Samir Geagea, La Guerre du Liban, de la Dissension nationale au conflit ra copyright Guinal, a Permil Editions Carthalassermoc, Paris 1994. Samuel M. Katz, Lee Russell, and Ron Volstad, Armies in Lebanon 1982-84, Men-at-Arms Series 165, Osprey Publishing, London 1985. ISBN 0-85045-602-9, Samuel M. Katz and Ron Volstad, Arab Armies of the Middle East Wars II, Men-at-Arms Series 194, Osprey Publishing, London 1988. ISBN 0-85045-800-5, Matthew S. Gordon, The Gemayels, Chelsea House Publishers, 1988. ISBN 1-55546-834-9. References. External links: Lebanese Forces, Bachir Gemayel Squad website, Lebanese Forces vehicles in the Lebanese Civil War.